Nothing in life shifts until you decide to rise above the habits that have kept you stuck and step into a stronger, more disciplined version of yourself. This audiobook delivers 10 powerful chapters on mastering money from mindset to long-term freedom. Each chapter gives practical steps, mental rewiring, and strategies you can apply today to live a life shaped by clarity and control. Stay committed to your growth by subscribing to Audiobook every day, where you receive daily guidance designed to sharpen your mind, strengthen your discipline, and elevate your entire life one lesson at a time. Number 1. Master core money mindset principles. Money responds to the mindset behind it. It follows the level of clarity, discipline, and emotional stability a person brings into their financial life. Many people try to change their bank account without first changing the beliefs that guide their behavior, and this is why they stay stuck in cycles of stress, fear, or impulsive decisions. Mastering the core money mindset principles begins with understanding that money is not just a tool, it's a mirror. It reflects habits, values, and the level of self-control practiced daily. A person who treats money with wisdom finds that it becomes easier to earn, easier to manage, and easier to grow. A person who treats it with chaos finds that it slips away, no matter how much they make. A powerful shift happens the moment someone stops seeing money as something mysterious and starts seeing it as a relationship. Every relationship improves when there is respect, clarity, effort, and consistent attention. Money behaves the same way. It grows under structure. It responds to intention. It stays in the hands of those who handle it with responsibility rather than impulse. This shift in perspective alone can transform the way a person approaches their entire financial journey. One of the most fundamental principles is recognizing that money follows value, not shortcuts, not luck, not occasional bursts of effort, value. The world rewards the individual who develops skills, discipline, and the ability to create solutions. Instead of asking how to make money fast, the stronger question to hold is how to become a person who consistently attracts opportunities. This requires inner work, building resilience, improving emotional control, strengthening discipline, and committing to personal growth. Money flows toward those who continuously grow, because growth makes a person useful, trustworthy, and capable of contributing something meaningful. There is also the belief many people carry that money is scarce or difficult to obtain. That perspective creates hesitation, fear, and a tendency to cling tightly to every dollar. But fear-based decisions rarely lead to abundance. Scarcity thinking narrows vision. It makes every challenge feel bigger and every opportunity feel out of reach. The individual with a healthy money mindset learns to replace this fear with understanding. They acknowledge that money is abundant when approached with skill, intention, and consistent action. This does not mean ignoring risks or spending recklessly. It means operating from a grounded awareness that opportunities exist, and they reveal themselves to those who prepare. Another important principle is recognizing the emotional patterns tied to money. Many people spend to escape feelings, not to improve their lives. Stress leads to impulse purchases. Boredom leads to unnecessary subscriptions. Social pressure leads to buying things that don't matter. As long as emotions drive financial behavior, money will always be fragile. Mastery begins by separating emotion from decision-making. Financial choices become clearer when they are based on long-term goals rather than short-term moods. A person who pauses, reflects, and chooses based on purpose instead of emotion naturally experiences more stability. The Stoic approach teaches that wealth comes from controlling what can be controlled and releasing what cannot. A person cannot control the economy, inflation, or unexpected expenses, but they can control how they think, prepare, and respond. They can build emergency savings. They can stay disciplined in how they spend. They can improve their knowledge. They can avoid unnecessary debt and learn how to manage the debts they already have. This mindset transforms uncertainty from something frightening into something manageable. It creates confidence because the individual knows they are not at the mercy of their environment. They are actively shaping their future. A key mindset shift is the commitment to long-term thinking. Many financial problems come from short-term desires overshadowing long-term well-being. The person who wants everything quickly pays the highest price. Quick pleasures lead to long regrets. True financial strength grows slowly, patiently, consistently. A long-term mindset makes the process feel lighter because the results are no longer rushed. Instead of chasing instant gratification, the individual learns to prioritize future stability over immediate comfort. This builds power, it builds self-respect, it builds the foundation for wealth. Another principle is taking full responsibility for one's financial life. Blame removes power. Some people blame family, circumstances, or the economy for their situation, and even though those challenges may be real, the habit of blaming prevents solution. Responsibility does not mean fault, it means ownership. It means acknowledging that while the past cannot be changed, every day moving forward can be shaped through intention and action. Responsibility creates momentum. It removes excuses and opens space for progress. When a person claims responsibility, they begin making choices that align with the life they want rather than the life they feel trapped in. Clarity is another foundational mindset pillar. Many people avoid looking at their finances because the truth feels uncomfortable. But growth requires honesty. A person cannot improve what they refuse to examine. Clarity means knowing income, expenses, debts, habits, weaknesses, and goals. Clarity transforms money from a source of stress into a system that can be managed. The simple act of knowing where money goes each month creates control. It brings confidence. It puts the individual back in the driver's seat. Avoidance keeps people stuck. Clarity sets them free. Gratitude also plays a transformative role in mindset. A person who constantly feels behind, deprived, or unsatisfied often spends more to fill a void that money cannot fix. Gratitude grounds the mind. It reduces the desire to overspend. It helps a person differentiate between what they want and what they actually need. Gratitude teaches the mind to operate from fullness rather than lack, and this shift reduces financial anxiety. When contentment grows, the need for unnecessary purchases fades. The person begins investing in what matters instead of chasing temporary highs. Another mindset principle is understanding that money magnifies character. Wealth does not change a person, it reveals them. A disciplined person becomes more disciplined when their resources grow. A careless person becomes more careless. A generous person becomes more generous. This is why the mindset must be built before wealth arrives. The internal structure must exist before the external abundance. Without discipline, money becomes a burden. With discipline, it becomes a tool that opens doors, strengthens stability, and creates possibilities. A mindset of continuous learning elevates everything. Financial literacy is not something learned once. It is ongoing. Money evolves, opportunities shift, and new challenges appear. The person committed to learning stays prepared. They avoid outdated beliefs. They avoid the mistakes that come from ignorance. Learning creates confidence because the individual understands how money works rather than reacting blindly. Knowledge builds stability. Stability builds growth. Another crucial principle is embracing discomfort. Financial discipline often requires saying no to impulses, temptations, and unnecessary spending. Growth requires sacrifice, and discomfort is part of that process. The individual who avoids discomfort ends up sacrificing their future. The individual who accepts discomfort builds a future that feels lighter and more secure. Strength grows every time a person chooses discipline over craving. Each small decision compounds into a powerful habit that shapes their financial life. The mindset must also include patience. Money grows in silence, slowly, without drama. Impulsive decisions shout, wise decisions whisper. The quieter a person becomes, the more clearly they can see their financial path. Patience removes the pressure to chase trends or get rich quickly. It builds the mental space needed to make thoughtful decisions. It creates a steady, unshakable foundation. The final principle is understanding that money is a servant, not a master. Many people live on autopilot, controlled by bills, urges, or expectations. Mastery happens when money becomes a tool aligned with personal values. It supports priorities rather than dictating them. When the mindset shifts from earning money to designing a life, every financial decision becomes clearer. The individual begins investing in skills, experiences, and opportunities that move them toward a meaningful future. Money becomes a partner in building a life that reflects purpose, strength, and clarity. Mastering the core money mindset principles is not about accumulating wealth quickly. It is about building the mental structure that allows wealth to remain, grow, and support a meaningful life. When the mind is steady, money becomes easier to manage. When the mindset is strong, opportunities appear more frequently. When the internal foundation is built with discipline, gratitude, clarity, and responsibility, the financial journey becomes one of empowerment rather than stress. This is the beginning of making money work for you, not by force, but through wisdom, intention, and consistent action that elevates every aspect of life. Number 2. Build systems that automate financial growth. Building systems that automate financial growth begins with understanding that progress becomes far simpler when the heavy lifting is removed from daily decisions. Most people rely on willpower to manage their finances, and willpower is unreliable. It changes with mood, energy, stress, and distractions. A person might plan to save, invest, or manage expenses, yet one exhausting day can undo weeks of good intentions. Systems protect progress from emotional fluctuations. They operate quietly, consistently, and without hesitation. They replace inconsistency with structure and create a financial environment where growth becomes the natural outcome instead of a constant struggle. A strong financial system works like a steady current beneath the surface of daily life. Even on busy days, even when motivation is low, the system continues creating momentum. It ensures money is directed toward goals before impulses can claim it. It shields income from unnecessary spending by redirecting it automatically. It builds stability without requiring constant attention. The moment someone sets up these mechanisms, their financial life begins to shift from reactive to proactive. The first step in building automated growth is establishing a predictable flow for every dollar. Money needs a direction the moment it arrives. Without direction, it finds its way into impulsive purchases, forgotten subscriptions, or scattered expenses. Automation starts with deciding how income should be allocated, how much goes toward savings, investments, bills, and essential costs. Once this structure is defined, the next step is linking it to automatic transfers that occur without manual action. This removes temptation, hesitation, and forgetfulness. Money moves according to purpose, not emotion. An automated savings mechanism is one of the simplest and most powerful components. Instead of saving whatever is left at the end of the month, money is saved at the beginning, before anything else is touched. This transforms saving from an optional act into a standard part of life. Even small amounts accumulate rapidly when they move automatically. Over time, the habit becomes invisible, yet the results remain visible through growing reserves that provide a sense of peace, strength, and independence. In the same way, automated investing creates long-term growth without the stress of timing markets or making frequent decisions. Consistent contributions build wealth steadily through accumulation and gradual compounding. The individual avoids the emotional highs and lows of trying to guess the perfect moment. Automation brings calm to the process. Money grows while the person focuses on their life, work, and goals. This approach removes the pressure of constant monitoring and replaces it with stable, predictable progress. A crucial part of automated systems is reducing friction. Every manual step increases the likelihood of delay or avoidance. Automation eliminates friction by handling routine tasks, such as bill payments, recurring contributions, and transfers. This not only prevents missed payments but also protects credit health and reduces anxiety. When essential obligations run seamlessly in the background, mental energy is freed for more meaningful decisions. Financial stress decreases because systems take care of the repetitive responsibilities that often overwhelm people. Monitoring expenses can also be systematized. Instead of trying to track every purchase manually, a person can create automatic categorization through tools or banking features that organize spending into clear sections. This makes patterns easy to see. Overspending becomes obvious. Waste reveals itself. Awareness increases without constant effort. These systems help individuals adjust quickly and maintain clarity without feeling burdened by endless calculations. Another important aspect of automation is building protective layers that strengthen financial resilience. Emergency funds, insurance contributions, and debt payments can all be automated to ensure consistent progress toward long-term stability. Many people intend to prepare for unexpected events but never follow through. Automation removes the gap between intention and action. It builds a fortress slowly and steadily, one transfer at a time, until security becomes a natural part of life. A well-structured financial system also includes automated boundaries. Without boundaries, income expands into unnecessary areas, and expenses grow silently over time. Boundaries limit the amount available for discretionary spending, so overspending becomes less likely. This can be done by automatically dividing income into separate accounts for essentials, goals, and flexible spending. When the flexible account reaches its limit, spending naturally slows, because the structure enforces discipline. There is no need for guilt or self-blame. The system does the work. Automation also strengthens consistency in financial habits that often fade with time. Many people start strong but lose momentum after a few weeks. Automated systems prevent this decline by ensuring the habit continues even when motivation fades. Consistency becomes effortless because it is built into the structure of daily life. This leads to gradual but powerful improvement that compounds over months and years, eventually creating results that feel almost automatic. Automating financial growth doesn't mean removing all involvement. It means reducing unnecessary decision-making and focusing attention only on what truly matters. Systems handle the routine. The individual handles strategy. With less energy spent on repetitive tasks, more energy is available for learning, planning, creating additional income, and improving long-term vision. Automation doesn't replace responsibility. It enhances it by ensuring actions align with goals even on difficult days. The mindset behind financial automation is rooted in discipline, but it is a discipline designed to operate quietly in the background. It reflects respect for time and acknowledgement of human limitations. No one is perfectly disciplined every day. Systems compensate for moments of weakness, distraction, or stress. They provide stability during busy seasons. They protect progress when life becomes chaotic. They maintain direction even when focus shifts elsewhere. Another advantage of building automated systems is the reduction of emotional spending. When money is automatically directed into savings, investments, and planned expenses, there is less available for spontaneous decisions. The structure naturally curbs impulses. This helps individuals avoid the exhausting cycle of regret that comes from buying things that bring no long-term value. Financial life begins to feel lighter because unnecessary burdens disappear and clarity takes their place. Over time, automated systems create a sense of trust between the individual and their own actions. They build confidence. They create visible results that reinforce discipline. When a person sees their accounts grow without constant effort, they begin understanding the power of structure. This realization shifts their identity. They start seeing themselves as someone who is capable, responsible, and in control. This internal shift opens the door to larger opportunities because confidence influences behavior, and behavior shapes outcomes. Automating financial growth also sets the stage for long-term wealth building. Wealth is rarely the result of sudden decisions. It is usually the result of consistent patterns that operate quietly over many years. Automation supports these patterns. It anchors progress. It removes chaos and replaces it with rhythm. Over time, these rhythms build a strong financial foundation that can support larger goals such as investments, entrepreneurship, travel, education, and long-term stability. The ultimate purpose of automation is not efficiency alone, but freedom. The less time spent worrying about money, the more time available for building a meaningful life. Systems create space. They reduce stress. They allow the mind to focus on growth, creativity, health, relationships, and purpose. When financial stability begins to operate automatically, life becomes richer in more ways than one. Building systems that automate financial growth is not about perfection. It is about creating a foundation that carries progress forward with strength and consistency. It is the shift from effort-driven change to structure-driven change. It is the movement from uncertainty to confidence. It is the quiet transformation that happens when discipline becomes part of the environment, not just part of the intention. And once these systems are in place, financial growth becomes not a distant hope, but a natural and steady outcome of a deliberate life. Number 3. Identify income streams that scale easily. Identifying income streams that scale easily begins with understanding the difference between effort-based earning and growth-based earning. Most people rely on income that demands continuous labor. When they stop working, the income stops as well. This creates a ceiling that cannot be crossed because hours and energy are limited. Scalable income moves differently. It expands without requiring equal increases in effort. It grows through systems, skills, leverage, or platforms that allow a single action to produce repeated value. The goal is to move from income controlled by time to income supported by strategy. The first step is recognizing where leverage exists. Leverage means using something beyond personal labor to multiply results. It can come from technology, digital platforms, creativity, specialized knowledge, or products that operate independently once created. A person who learns how to use leverage begins creating income that grows even while they rest, learn, or pursue new opportunities. This shift transforms the financial landscape because it removes the limits imposed by relying on a single paycheck. Scalable income often begins with skills that produce repeated value. When a skill can be packaged, taught, or applied at scale, it becomes a foundation for growth. Writing, design, coding, marketing, video creation, teaching, consulting, and problem-solving are examples of skills that translate well into multiple income streams. They can be used to create products, services, or digital assets that continue generating revenue long after the initial work is completed. Skills that solve problems people frequently face tend to scale more naturally because demand remains steady. A powerful way to identify scalable streams is examining the problems a person can solve for many people at once. Solutions that serve large groups create opportunities for expansion. A teacher can tutor one student at a time, or they can create online courses accessible to thousands. A designer can work with individual clients, or they can sell templates used by people worldwide. A writer can produce single pieces for a client, or they can publish books, guides, and content that generate steady income over time. The key is shifting perspective from one-to-one value to one-to-many value. Another pathway to scalable income is building or owning digital products. Digital products require effort upfront, but minimal effort afterward. They do not require inventory, shipping, or physical maintenance. Once created, they continue generating income through downloads, subscriptions, or licensing. This includes ebooks, audio lessons, templates, software tools, membership communities, or educational materials. The digital world rewards creators who package their knowledge effectively and share it with audiences seeking solutions. Income streams that scale easily also come from platforms that allow content or creativity to be monetized repeatedly. Video platforms, podcasts, and blogs can generate revenue through ads, sponsorships, and partnerships once they reach consistent viewership. The work is front-loaded, creating high-quality content, building trust, and showing up consistently. Over time, the accumulated content becomes a library that continues attracting audiences. This type of income grows because the content remains accessible long after it is produced, creating a compounding effect. Another source of scalable income lies in service-based work that eventually transitions into systems or teams. Many people start by offering a service directly, but scalable growth requires building tools, processes, or a team that can deliver the service without requiring the individual to handle every step personally. This might include automation, outsourcing, or developing a streamlined workflow that allows clients to be served with greater efficiency. The more repeatable the service becomes, the easier it is to scale. A service transforms into a business when it is no longer dependent on one person's time. Leveraging marketplaces can also create streams of scalable income. Online platforms for handmade products, print-on-demand merchandise, stock photography, music licensing, or digital art allow individuals to reach customers without building their own infrastructure. These platforms handle marketing, delivery, and logistics, allowing creators to focus on producing new work. While success requires consistency and quality, the structure of these platforms naturally supports scaling because products can be sold an unlimited number of times. Investments also represent a scalable form of income, though they require knowledge and patience. Dividends, rental income, Royalties and interest are forms of income that grow without demanding continuous labor. While investments must be managed wisely, they offer the ability to expand wealth over time through compounding. Scalable investment income is built through discipline, research, and long-term thinking. Once established, it supports financial independence and stability. One of the most effective ways to identify scalable opportunities is analyzing personal strengths and interests. The most sustainable income streams come from work that feels meaningful and skill-aligned. When a person works within their natural strengths, they produce better results and maintain consistency. This consistency is essential for building something that grows beyond the initial stages. Scalable income requires patience, so the work behind it must feel purposeful enough to sustain long-term effort. Another important principle is recognizing that scalable income does not appear instantly. It builds gradually through small, repeated actions. Many people abandon opportunities because they expect rapid results. Scalable streams grow like seeds, slowly at first, then faster as roots strengthen. The early stages require commitment and learning. The later stages reward endurance with exponential progress. This delayed growth is what makes scalable income powerful, yet it is also what makes it uncommon. Few people stay long enough to see the true potential unfold. Identifying scalable income streams also requires observing trends in technology, culture, and consumer behavior. The world changes quickly, and individuals who pay attention to emerging needs often find opportunities before others notice them. Understanding how people consume information, how businesses operate, and how problems evolve helps identify areas with long-term demand. Scalable income is easier to build in spaces where the future points toward growth rather than decline. A vital mindset shift is releasing the belief that every income stream must be perfect from the beginning. Scalable growth often starts messy. The first product may not sell well. The first content may attract few views. The first attempt at building a system may feel clumsy. Improvement happens through iteration. Progress replaces perfection. Over time, skill and clarity sharpen, and the income stream becomes stronger, smoother, and more effective. Another key to identifying scalable streams is understanding personal limits. Not every idea fits a person's lifestyle, abilities, or desired level of involvement. Scalable income should align with the kind of life someone wants to build. Some streams require high creativity, others require analytical thinking. Some demand social presence, others thrive quietly in the background. By choosing streams that match personal rhythm and strengths, the chances of long-term success increase significantly. Scalable income also depends on building an audience or a group of people who trust the value offered. This does not require fame or massive numbers. It requires consistency, honesty, and a genuine desire to help. People support those who provide meaningful solutions. Whether through teaching, creating, building, or designing, income grows when trust grows. Trust is the foundation that allows scalable efforts to reach more people and produce greater return. The process of identifying income streams that scale easily ultimately leads to a broader understanding of financial freedom. It teaches that time is limited, but value is limitless. It shows that effort applied strategically can produce impact far beyond initial work. It reveals that income can grow even when energy cannot, and it guides a person toward building a life supported not only by hard work, but by intelligent structure. When someone learns to recognize scalable opportunities, they stop depending solely on a single source of income. They begin building a diverse foundation that supports stability, confidence, and long-term growth. The journey requires patience, creativity, and resilience, but it rewards those who stay committed with a life where financial possibilities expand rather than shrink. This shift builds both security and freedom, allowing each step forward to carry more strength than the last. Number 4. Transform spending into strategic investment choices. Transforming spending into strategic investment choices begins with recognizing that every financial decision is a vote for the future. Money is not only a tool for comfort or convenience, it is a force that shapes direction. Many people spend without intention, allowing impulses, habits, and short-term desires to guide where their resources go. This creates a cycle where money leaves quickly, but returns slowly, if at all. Turning spending into investment choices requires a shift in awareness, one where every dollar is examined for its potential impact, not just its immediate satisfaction. This shift does not demand restriction or deprivation. It calls for clarity and alignment with a larger vision. The moment someone begins questioning the purpose behind their spending, their financial life changes. Whether it is a purchase, subscription, or lifestyle habit, each choice has consequences that ripple into the future. Strategic spending asks a simple question: does this decision strengthen or weaken my long-term position? This question refines priorities and brings attention to the true cost of impulsive actions. Many expenses appear small but accumulate into barriers that block growth. When each cost is weighed against long-term value, waste naturally reduces, and purposeful decisions take its place. Strategic investment begins with separating desires from necessities. Not every desire is harmful, and not every necessity is beneficial. The goal is to understand efficiency, not enforce rigid restrictions. Some desires bring lasting value, such as experiences that expand perspective or tools that enhance productivity. Other expenses create temporary excitement but leave no meaningful return. By observing how spending habits influence daily life, a person can determine which patterns support growth and which drain energy, time, and money without offering anything of substance. A powerful step in transforming spending is identifying recurring expenses that no longer serve a meaningful purpose. These silent costs quietly erode financial progress because they go unnoticed. Reviewing monthly charges reveals patterns that can be adjusted without sacrificing quality of life. Removing these unnecessary expenses frees resources that can be redirected into areas that contribute to improvement. This redirection strengthens financial health because it channels money into systems, knowledge, or opportunities that continue to add value long after the initial decision. Another core principle is redefining luxury. Many people define luxury as something expensive or extravagant. Yet true luxury is the ability to make choices that improve life rather than complicate it. Strategic investment reframes luxury as anything that enhances capabilities, resilience, or long-term security. Books, training, tools, access to expertise, upgraded skills, high-quality resources, and meaningful experiences become investments that elevate potential. In contrast, purchases that distract rather than strengthen slowly lose appeal because they do not contribute to the long-term vision. Awareness plays a major role in shifting spending towards strategic investments. When someone understands how money flows, they begin noticing opportunities to allocate resources more wisely. This awareness sharpens decision-making. Instead of reacting to sales trends or temporary desires, choices become deliberate and calm. The mind no longer chases impulsive rewards because it is focused on larger goals. This calmness reflects the strength of self-mastery, where discipline is not forced but naturally emerges from clarity. As spending patterns change, the individual begins recognizing gaps in their growth that money can help fill. These gaps represent opportunities, areas of knowledge, skill, or infrastructure that once strengthened create long-term returns. Investing in personal development has a compounding effect because knowledge cannot be taken away. It multiplies over time, enhancing judgment, ability, and adaptability. Unlike objects that depreciate, skills appreciate. They gain value with practice. They open doors that spending alone cannot access. Transforming spending into investment choices also involves valuing time with the same seriousness as money. Decisions that save time, increase efficiency, or reduce stress can be considered investments because they free mental and physical capacity. A tool that streamlines work, a service that removes repetitive tasks, or a habit that increases productivity contributes to long-term growth. Many people undervalue time, overlooking the fact that the way they spend their hours influences their future just as much as the way they spend their money. Another powerful technique is using money to build assets rather than accumulate liabilities. Assets generate or preserve value. Liabilities drain or diminish it. The difference is not always obvious in daily life. A liability can appear attractive or convenient, while an asset may require discipline and patience. Distinguishing between the two requires honesty and long-term thinking. When spending shifts toward assets, wealth begins to build quietly and steadily. This includes investments in education, financial instruments, business ideas, creative projects, or skill development. Assets elevate a person's future earning potential, resilience, and independence. Strategic investment choices also require understanding opportunity cost, the value of what is sacrificed when a decision is made. Every purchase eliminates the possibility of using that money differently. When someone becomes conscious of opportunity cost, they begin choosing options that compound rather than vanish. Even simple choices gain significance. A small amount redirected monthly into savings, investments, or skill development becomes a meaningful contribution over time. What once felt insignificant transforms into a powerful tool for long-term security. The emotional component of spending must also be addressed. Many financial decisions are influenced by stress, boredom, insecurity, or temporary moods. Strategic investment requires creating distance between emotion and action. This does not mean suppressing feelings. It means allowing clarity to guide choices. When emotions no longer dictate spending, financial life becomes steadier. The need to impress others fades. The desire for instant gratification diminishes. A calm, stable mindset emerges, one that values progress over impulses. Transforming spending habits also creates space for intentional generosity. When finances are aligned with long-term growth, giving becomes more meaningful because it is done from strength rather than guilt or pressure. Supporting causes, people, or communities becomes a deliberate choice that reflects values rather than emotional reaction. This strengthens character and deepens the sense of purpose behind every financial action. One of the greatest advantages of transforming spending into investment decisions is the gradual rise in financial confidence. Each intentional action builds trust. Confidence does not appear immediately. It grows with consistency. Watching resources accumulate, skills expand, and opportunities increase builds a sense of stability that cannot be taken away. This confidence influences other areas of life. Decision-making becomes clearer. Stress becomes lighter. Long-term thinking becomes natural rather than forced. Over time, this approach to spending creates a strong foundation for wealth. Not wealth measured only in money, but wealth measured in choices, freedom, and resilience. Money becomes a tool for growth rather than a source of anxiety. Each decision aligns with a purpose. Each purchase supports the future. This transformation shifts a person from being reactive with money to becoming intentional and empowered. It turns spending into a strategic act rather than a passive habit. Transforming spending into strategic investment choices is a lifelong skill, one that evolves with experiences, challenges, and new opportunities. It teaches discipline without deprivation. It encourages clarity without rigidity. It creates a path where every choice contributes to a stronger, more capable version of oneself. As this mastery deepens, the individual learns to use money in a way that builds a future filled with stability, strength, and possibility. Number 5. Use financial literacy to reduce risks. Financial literacy becomes a protective shield the moment you start treating knowledge as a tool rather than an optional advantage. Money moves in patterns, and people who study those patterns make decisions grounded in clarity instead of pressure. Reducing risks isn't about eliminating uncertainty. It's about sharpening your understanding so you can recognize danger early and position yourself where harm is least likely to reach you. Every financial choice carries a consequence, and the quality of your learning determines whether those consequences push you forward or drag you backward. When you understand how money behaves, you begin to anticipate outcomes rather than react to them. A strong defense against financial setbacks starts with learning how systems actually work beneath the surface. Concepts like interest, inflation, taxation, and liquidity aren't just academic terms. They shape the real flow of your wealth every single day. People who neglect these fundamentals often walk into decisions without knowing what they are sacrificing. Someone might celebrate a raise without realizing inflation absorbed the entire benefit. Another might save consistently, yet lose value because that money sits in the wrong vehicle. The gap between intention and result shrinks dramatically once you educate yourself on how financial mechanisms operate. The more you learn, the better you recognize patterns that reveal hidden dangers. You start seeing the difference between genuine opportunity and a polished trap disguised as one. Many risks grow from misunderstanding, not misfortune. A little knowledge protects you from over-leveraging, from assuming returns that don't exist, from trusting projections that have no foundation, and from taking advice that sounds confident but lacks substance. When you cultivate literacy, you develop the ability to filter information with discernment instead of emotion. This reduces the influence of hype, pressure, and impulsiveness, all major sources of financial loss. Understanding money helps you examine the long-term impact of your decisions. Risk often hides in the future, not the present. Buying something today may feel harmless, but not seeing how it affects your financial runway later creates vulnerability. Without literacy, you may overlook how fees quietly eat your returns, how taxes reshape your actual gains, or how debt multiplies when unmanaged. Education reveals these silent erosions before they undermine your progress. It equips you with the awareness to evaluate choices not by immediate comfort, but by lasting cost. Financial literacy also reveals the significance of diversification, a concept often mentioned but rarely understood deeply. Diversifying isn't just spreading money randomly, it's designing a balance that prevents any single event from collapsing your foundation. Knowledge teaches you to categorize assets, examine correlations, and assess how one area stabilizes another. When you know how to build this structure, you reduce the impact of market fluctuations, personal emergencies, and economic downturn. You become less vulnerable to abrupt change because your plan doesn't rely on a single outcome. Another important aspect of literacy is learning how to evaluate risk through probability rather than fear. Most people either underestimate or exaggerate danger. With education, you gain the clarity to assess likelihood, measure potential losses, and weigh them against possible rewards. This transforms your decision-making from emotional to rational. Instead of avoiding opportunities out of uncertainty, you analyze them with a structured approach. Instead of jumping into ventures because they sound promising, you question assumptions, review numbers, and check whether the upside genuinely outweighs the downside. When you deepen your understanding, you also become better at protecting yourself from external threats. Scams, misleading investments, predatory loans, and unrealistic promises thrive on financial ignorance. The more informed you are, the harder it becomes for others to exploit you. You recognize inconsistencies quickly, ask precise questions, and demand evidence before trusting anything. People who lack literacy often fall into traps because they don't know what to verify or which details matter. Knowledge builds a barrier that keeps you from being guided by someone else's agenda. A strong grasp of financial principles strengthens your ability to plan. Planning itself reduces risk more than most people realize. When you map your income, expenses, goals, and buffers, you eliminate surprise factors. Unexpected situations may still arise, but they no longer destroy your stability. Literacy shows you how to prepare for emergencies, create safety margins, and maintain liquidity. You learn how much to keep accessible, how much to invest long-term, and how much to assign to growth vehicles. This structure guards you from panic-driven decisions during difficult times. Another dimension of reducing risk is developing the habit of continuous learning. Financial systems evolve, markets shift, opportunities emerge, and rules change. Staying informed prevents your strategy from becoming outdated. Someone who learned finance a decade ago, but never continued studying, will eventually operate with inaccurate assumptions. Someone who stays updated adapts quickly, avoids outdated tactics, and takes advantage of better options. Literacy is not a one-time achievement, it's an ongoing practice that sharpens your judgment year after year. Knowledge also helps you choose mentors, advisors, and partners wisely. People often follow financial guidance without truly understanding the motives or competence of the source. With literacy, you evaluate the quality of advice instead of being impressed by confidence or presentation. You know how to ask informed questions, verify credibility, and distinguish between genuine expertise and superficial claims. This protects you from steering your money under someone else's misguided direction. Financial literacy enhances your ability to forecast. By understanding market cycles, economic indicators, and consumer trends, you gain insight into how conditions may shift. While you cannot predict everything, you can prepare yourself for multiple scenarios. This foresight reduces the risk of being blindsided by downturns or missing chances during growth phases. You no longer rely solely on reaction. you begin operating proactively. Knowledge also strengthens your internal discipline. Risk often expands when you act impulsively or emotionally. When you understand the deeper consequences of your choices, you naturally become more intentional. You spend with clarity, invest with purpose, borrow with caution, and save with strategy. Literacy doesn't just sharpen your mind, it stabilizes your behavior. A stable mindset reduces risk far more effectively than luck or guesswork. Understanding money also empowers you to build systems that enforce safety automatically. Automating portions of your financial life, habitual saving, recurring investments, strategic allocations, reduces the chance of mismanagement. Without education, automation becomes blind. With education, automation becomes intelligent. You design systems that serve your goals while minimizing mistakes caused by inconsistency or neglect. Most importantly, financial literacy shifts your identity. You no longer see yourself as someone trying to navigate money through trial and error. You see yourself as someone capable of making informed, confident, and strategic decisions. This identity reduces risk on every level because you operate with knowledge, not hope. You stop believing that financial success requires extraordinary luck. You recognize that it grows from understanding patterns and applying them with intention. Every hour invested in learning pays dividends in protection. Literacy guides your choices, shields your assets, clarifies your judgment, and strengthens your resilience. The people who lose the most are often those who never realized how much they didn't know. The people who thrive are those who study, question, adjust, and grow. Reducing risk is not a mystery, it is the natural result of understanding how money truly works and using that understanding to build a foundation that supports you in every stage of life. Number 6. Strengthen cash flow through disciplined habits. Cash flow becomes stronger the moment you start treating consistency as a non-negotiable part of your financial behavior, rather than an occasional effort. Disciplined habits shape the rhythm of your money in ways that create stability, reduce unnecessary pressure, and open room for long-term growth. Many people focus on earning more but overlook the habits that determine how well money circulates in their lives. Strengthening cash flow is ultimately a behavioral transformation, not a temporary challenge. It grows from daily choices, repeated actions, and the willingness to design patterns that support your financial direction instead of sabotaging it. One of the most effective ways to improve cash flow is by developing a clear and intentional structure around how money enters and exits your life. Instead of reacting to expenses as they appear, you guide your spending with a predetermined plan that aligns with your priorities. This level of structure prevents leaks that drain your resources silently. Discipline ensures that every outflow has a purpose, and every dollar is directed towards something meaningful. When unnecessary costs no longer slip through unnoticed, you naturally create more available cash without needing higher income. A crucial habit in strengthening cash flow is learning to manage timing. The timing of payments, savings, investments, and earnings significantly shapes your financial rhythm. When you delay certain bills, ignore due dates, or pile multiple responsibilities into the same week, you create unnecessary strain, even when you technically have enough money. Disciplined cash flow habits mean aligning your financial calendar with your real capacity. Spacing out obligations creates smoother movement, reduces stress, and prevents the kind of rushed decisions that often lead to shortfalls. Your cash flow becomes predictable instead of chaotic. Another discipline that enhances cash flow is tracking your financial activity with honesty. Many people underestimate how much they spend, overestimate how much they save, and assume their habits are better than they actually are. Tracking forces you to confront the reality of your pattern. It highlights tendencies you may not be aware of: impulsive purchases, subscription creep, inconsistent saving, or emotional spending. Once you see these patterns clearly, you gain the power to reshape them. Cash flow improves not because of extreme cuts, but because your decisions become grounded in awareness, rather than assumption. Strengthening cash flow also requires building habits that enhance your earning stability. While income might fluctuate, discipline ensures you always have a plan for smoothing out those shifts. One effective approach is committing to a consistent savings routine tied to every earning cycle, regardless of how large or small the amount is. This preserves momentum even during slower periods. Another habit is setting aside a portion of unexpected income, even a small fraction, to maintain the balance between inflows and outflows. Over time, these decisions compound into a stronger cushion that protects you from disruption. Reducing friction in your financial life is another powerful habit. Friction appears when processes are disorganized, when payments rely on memory, or when decisions require too much willpower. By automating essential tasks, saving, investing, bill payments, you reduce the chance of mistakes that interrupt cash flow. Automation also protects you from emotional interference, ensuring your priorities are met before discretionary spending can interfere. When systemized habits replace mental effort, your cash flow becomes smoother and more reliable. Maintaining discipline around spending requires developing a stronger internal filter. Not every desire deserves your money, and not every convenience justifies the cost. Strengthening cash flow means learning to differentiate between temporary impulses and real needs. It becomes easier when you create a personal rule that aligns spending with long-term benefit rather than short-term comfort. This rule prevents emotional or stress-driven purchases from weakening your financial rhythm. Over time, the habit of pausing, evaluating, and choosing intentionally protects your cash flow from unpredictable dips. A major contributor to strong cash flow is the habit of operating with buffers. Buffers are small financial shock absorbers, cash reserves that sit between you and unexpected expenses. Without them, even minor surprises disrupt your entire financial structure. With them, your cash flow remains intact even when life becomes unpredictable. Building a buffer requires discipline, but once established, it becomes one of the strongest stabilizers in your financial life. It protects the money you've allocated for other purposes and shields your long-term goals from short-term emergencies. Discipline also shows up in the way you manage commitments. Many people weaken their cash flow by overextending themselves, taking on obligations that exceed their real capacity. Strengthening your financial rhythm involves learning to say no to unnecessary responsibilities and renegotiating terms when needed. It means assessing the true weight of every commitment before agreeing to it. When your obligations match your actual bandwidth, you avoid the strain that leads to financial imbalance. Another essential habit is reviewing your financial landscape regularly. Cash flow benefits from reflection because circumstances change, needs evolve, and priorities shift. A disciplined review allows you to adjust your strategies proactively, instead of reacting to problems after they appear. During these reviews, you might identify recurring costs that no longer serve you, opportunities to optimize your budget, or patterns that require correction. This process keeps your cash flow aligned with your current reality, preventing stagnation or deterioration. Strengthening cash flow also involves developing emotional discipline around money. Emotional decisions can create significant fluctuations in your financial pattern. Stress, insecurity, boredom, excitement, each of these emotions can influence spending in ways disconnected from logic. When you cultivate emotional discipline, you train yourself to detach financial decisions from momentary feelings. This creates a smooth, consistent flow of money, rather than one shaped by emotional highs and lows. A powerful habit for improving cash flow is redirecting small pockets of money toward productive uses. Many people underestimate the impact of incremental decisions. Redirecting even small amounts, change from purchases, discounts received, extra earnings toward savings or investments, builds strength gradually. These micro-decisions accumulate into real stability over time. Discipline magnifies the effect of these small choices. Another dimension of cash flow discipline involves planning beyond the present. When you anticipate future obligations, you structure your money today in preparation for what's coming. This habit prevents last-minute scrambling and avoids the financial jolts that disrupt your progress. Whether it's annual expenses, seasonal obligations, or predictable life events, preparing early reduces the strain they might otherwise cause. Cash flow thrives on foresight, and disciplined planning creates that foresight. Discipline also influences how you manage increasing income. Many people weaken their cash flow after receiving raises or earning more because their lifestyle expands immediately. A disciplined approach maintains your existing lifestyle long enough to create financial distance between earning and spending. This distance strengthens your cash flow, allowing you to build reserves, invest more, and achieve greater stability. When income rises but spending remains controlled, your financial structure becomes significantly more resilient. Strengthening cash flow, additionally, requires vigilance against hidden drains. Small recurring costs, forgotten subscriptions, unoptimized services, or unnoticed fees can weaken your financial rhythm quietly. Disciplined habits include regularly scanning your finances for these drains and removing them quickly. The habit of eliminating wasteful spending keeps your cash flow efficient and prevents erosion. Discipline also encourages you to maximize the usefulness of every dollar. Instead of spending without thought, you consider the return on each expenditure, whether it provides value, supports growth, or moves you toward your goals. This mindset transforms cash flow management into a proactive practice rather than a passive one. You become intentional about where your money goes and deliberate about how it supports your future. Over time, disciplined habits create a financial identity rooted in stability and clarity. You no longer feel overwhelmed by the movement of money because you guide it with structure and purpose. Cash flow becomes a dependable resource, not a source of stress. Every disciplined decision strengthens the foundation beneath you. The more consistent your habits, the smoother your financial life becomes. And as your cash flow stabilizes, your capacity to build wealth expands naturally. The transformation begins not with dramatic changes, but with the steady discipline that reshapes the way your money flows every single day. Number 7. Analyze money patterns to optimize decisions. Patterns appear in every financial life long before a person notices them. They quietly shape decisions, influence behaviors, and determine outcomes. Money does not move randomly. It follows the pathways you create through your habits, beliefs, and choices. When you learn to analyze these patterns with clarity, you gain the power to transform your financial direction with intention instead of leaving it to chance. Understanding your patterns is like turning on a light in a room you've been walking through in the dark. You finally see where you've been stepping, where you've stumbled, and where the clear path forward actually lies. The first step in analyzing money patterns is developing the discipline to observe without judgment. Many people avoid looking closely at their financial behavior because they fear what they will find. But real progress begins when you treat your financial history as data, not as a verdict on your character. Observation gives you the chance to notice trends that have been shaping your results for years. You might see periods where you consistently overspend, months where saving becomes irregular, or moments where emotional decisions override logic. Identifying these patterns allows you to understand the real mechanics behind your financial outcomes. Analyzing patterns also helps you see the connection between your environment and your choices. External influences often dictate spending without you realizing it. Certain places, people, moods, or situations trigger predictable decisions. When you notice these patterns, you gain control over them. You may discover that stress leads you to spend more on convenience, or that boredom triggers unnecessary purchases. Understanding these links gives you the ability to interrupt impulsive behaviors before they affect your financial stability. The more you notice the context behind your decisions, the more intentional your financial life becomes. One of the most revealing patterns emerges from your monthly spending rhythms. Every person has a unique financial cycle, moments when spending increases, dips, or becomes inconsistent. Studying these cycles provides insight into habits that might be draining your resources. Perhaps you spend heavily at the start of every month because it feels like a fresh beginning, or maybe mid-month is when unnecessary purchases appear due to emotional fatigue. Once you identify these cycles, you can set strategies to counter them. This aligns your decisions with your long-term goals rather than allowing old behaviors to guide you blindly. Income patterns also deserve close attention. Many people assume their income is stable when in reality it fluctuates in subtle ways. You might notice periods where you earn more because of seasonal opportunities, bonuses, or increased effort. Recognizing these patterns helps you plan far more effectively. Instead of using peak income months for excess spending, you can allocate the surplus toward goals that improve your long-term security. You also learn how to prepare for leaner months by setting aside financial buffers in advance. This kind of foresight creates stability and protects your financial confidence during quieter periods. Debt-related patterns are another important area to analyze. Some individuals fall into cycles where they clear debt only to accumulate it again. Others may consistently pay only the minimum, allowing balances to grow unnoticed. Understanding your relationship with debt reveals how your behavior aligns with your long-term intentions. When you identify these trends, you begin to see how discipline, planning, or emotional impulses influence your decisions. From there, you can redesign your approach to debt in a way that supports growth rather than hinders it. Awareness becomes the first step in breaking cycles that have held you back. Analyzing financial patterns also involves recognizing how you respond to opportunities. Some people hesitate too long when they encounter chances for growth, missing valuable moments because of doubt or fear. Others move too quickly, drawn in by excitement without analyzing the consequences. Both patterns affect financial progress. When you understand your natural tendencies, whether you lean toward avoidance or impulse, you can correct them. This leads to more balanced decisions, where opportunities are evaluated with clarity and chosen with intention. Another powerful money pattern to examine is how you manage increases in income. Many individuals automatically adjust their lifestyle upward the moment they earn more. This creates a trap where financial growth never translates into long-term improvement. Identifying this tendency allows you to reshape the way you handle financial improvements. Instead of expanding expenses immediately, you can channel the increase toward investments, savings, or long-term plans. The ability to recognize lifestyle inflation gives you the power to maintain discipline even when your financial situation improves. Your emotional patterns around money are equally influential. Every person carries emotional associations formed by upbringing, experiences, and beliefs. Some people fear spending because they grew up in scarcity. Others spend freely because money represents freedom or relief. These emotional associations create predictable patterns that shape financial decisions. By analyzing these emotional triggers, you understand why certain choices feel natural and others feel difficult. This awareness empowers you to make decisions based on logic rather than old emotional imprints. As your emotional patterns become clearer, your financial choices become stronger and more aligned with your goals. There is also immense value in analyzing how you treat small amounts of money. Many people handle large financial decisions with care but ignore smaller daily choices. Yet small expenses accumulate into predictable patterns that influence cash flow significantly. Tracking these micro decisions reveals hidden habits that weaken your financial structure. Once identified, these small patterns can be redirected toward more productive uses, strengthening your overall financial health. Over time, disciplined handling of small amounts leads to better handling of larger amounts, creating a consistent upward trajectory. Patterns also reveal how you react to setbacks. Some individuals become discouraged and reduce their effort after financial challenges. Others become impulsive in an attempt to compensate. Recognizing your natural response to setbacks allows you to develop a more resilient approach. When you understand how you behave under pressure, you can prepare healthier strategies in advance. This empowers you to maintain stability even when life becomes unpredictable. Your decisions become rooted in clarity rather than reaction, strengthening your financial resilience. Another essential pattern to analyze is your long-term commitment behavior. Many people start financial plans with enthusiasm, but struggle to maintain consistency. Understanding when and why your motivation declines helps you build systems that support sustained progress. You might notice that you lose focus after a certain period or when results slow down. Recognizing this pattern allows you to create safeguards, reminders, automation, accountability structures that keep you aligned with your goals even when motivation fades. Long-term consistency becomes easier when you understand the moments that typically disrupt it. Evaluating your decision-making process also offers valuable insight. Some people make decisions quickly based on instinct, while others overthink until the opportunity passes. Both approaches create patterns that influence financial outcomes. By observing how you naturally make decisions, you can refine your approach. You learn to slow down impulsive choices and speed up decisions that require confidence. This balance enhances your overall financial strategy, creating a smoother path toward growth. The deeper you analyze your financial patterns, the more empowered you become. Patterns provide clues that guide wiser decisions, protect you from repeating mistakes, and reveal opportunities that may have gone unnoticed. They transform your financial life into something intentional, where every action is informed rather than random. Instead of drifting between habits and reactions, you begin shaping your decisions with clarity and purpose. Over time, this creates a financial identity grounded in awareness, strength, and direction. As you continue analyzing patterns, you build a relationship with money that is rooted in understanding rather than fear or confusion. You gain the ability to anticipate outcomes and adjust your actions before issues arise. This level of insight sharpens your judgment and strengthens your financial foundation. Each pattern you identify becomes an opportunity for refinement, growth, and progress. Your decisions evolve because you finally understand the forces shaping them. With that understanding comes the freedom to create a financial life that supports your goals and reflects the person you are becoming. Number 8. Apply wealth laws that compound returns. Wealth grows the moment you stop relying on chance and begin following principles that work consistently, regardless of circumstance. Wealth laws are not mystical or complicated. They are simple truths that compound over time when applied with discipline. These laws shape the behavior of money in your life. They determine how fast it accumulates, how well it grows, how effectively it protects itself, and how far it stretches into the future. When you start applying these laws with commitment, your financial life begins to evolve from scattered efforts into a structured system that produces steady, compounding returns. One of the most fundamental wealth laws is understanding that money grows best when given time. Nothing builds wealth faster than patience combined with consistent action. Many people chase quick gains, hoping to speed up what naturally requires steady progress. Real compounding rewards those who stay committed long after the excitement fades. When you give your investments room to grow without constantly interrupting them, you benefit from the silent multiplication that occurs beneath the surface. Compounding turns small contributions into significant outcomes because growth builds on itself repeatedly. Every cycle synchrones the next, creating a powerful upward trajectory. Another essential law is the principle of paying yourself before anything else. This is not just a habit, it's a mindset that prioritizes your future over momentary comfort. When you set aside a portion of every dollar you earn, you create a predictable flow of resources moving toward your goals. This automatic forward movement becomes the engine behind your compounding returns. It ensures that your wealth grows regardless of how life fluctuates. Every contribution, no matter how small, becomes part of a growing foundation that expands over time. A critical wealth law involves directing money toward assets rather than distractions. Assets are the vehicles that carry your wealth into the future. They work on your behalf, multiplying your efforts long after they are made. Distractive spending, on the other hand, creates short-lived satisfaction but offers no return. Applying this law means consistently choosing opportunities that generate value, investments, education, skills, property, or businesses over purchases that fade quickly. The more frequently you channel money toward productive assets, the faster compounding takes effect. Your wealth begins to grow not just from what you save, but from what your savings earn. Another powerful law is protection. Wealth grows best when shielded from unnecessary risk. This doesn't mean avoiding all risk, but rather understanding the difference between calculated risks and reckless ones. Calculated risks come with clear reasoning, research, and strategy. Reckless risks depend on luck. When you learn to protect your money through diversification, research, and careful planning, you prevent losses that can erase years of progress. Compounding thrives in environments where money is allowed to grow steadily without frequent disruption. Protecting your assets is one of the most effective ways to sustain long-term returns. A crucial wealth law is the discipline of keeping your expenses below your income, not just slightly below, but comfortably below. This creates a consistent surplus that can be directed toward growth. Living with margin gives you freedom. It allows you to invest without strain, save without pressure, and take advantage of opportunities without destabilizing your life. This surplus becomes the fuel that powers compounding. Every bit of margin you create expands your capacity to build and maintain wealth. Another law revolves around reinvesting your gains instead of spending them prematurely. Many people allow their potential wealth to stagnate by withdrawing returns the moment they appear. Compounding reaches its true power when gains remain in the system and are reinvested repeatedly. When your returns begin creating their own returns, exponential growth becomes possible. The discipline to reinvest, even when tempted by other desires, is one of the strongest contributors to long-term wealth. A further wealth law emphasizes the importance of consistency over intensity. Wealth is not built by occasional bursts of effort followed by long periods of inactivity. It grows from steady, repeated actions that accumulate over years. Even modest contributions, when done reliably, outperform large but inconsistent efforts. This consistency stabilizes compounding, giving it the foundation it needs to accelerate. When you commit to ongoing contributions, your financial life becomes predictable, strategic, and continuously expanding. Another essential principle is gaining knowledge before taking action. Compounding works best when aligned with informed decisions. When you understand the tools, markets, and strategies you're using, you minimize mistakes that could slow your progress. Financial literacy is one of the strongest accelerators of compounding. It improves your judgment, sharpens your decisions, and protects you from pitfalls. The more wisdom you gather, the more confidently you can apply wealth laws in ways that support your long-term vision. A significant wealth law involves creating multiple channels for money to grow. Relying on a single source limits your speed and resilience. When you diversify your growth engines, investments, side ventures, passive income streams, you create multiple points of compounding working simultaneously. This multi-layered approach accelerates progress and provides stability even when one area slows down. Every new growth channel adds another layer of momentum to your financial expansion. Another important law is avoiding unnecessary debt. While certain forms of debt can be strategic, many create drag that weakens compounding. Interest working against you erodes your ability to build wealth. When you eliminate burdensome debt or avoid it altogether, you free up resources that can be redirected toward growth. Removing financial drag strengthens your compounding potential by keeping more of your money working for you, rather than against you. Another timeless law of wealth is staying focused on the long game. Short-term losses, market fluctuations, or temporary challenges do not define your financial trajectory unless you allow them to. Compounding requires calm, patience, and the discipline to continue despite fluctuations. When you maintain long-term perspective, you avoid emotional decisions that interrupt your progress. You become steady in your approach, trusting the process instead of reacting impulsively. This stability allows compounding to unfold without disruption. The final wealth law that amplifies returns is intentional alignment between actions and goals. Your money grows faster when every decision supports a clear direction. When you know exactly what you're working toward, your choices become sharper. You stop wasting resources on distractions and begin channeling your energy toward what contributes to your purpose. This alignment not only strengthens compounding, but also builds a sense of conviction that carries you through challenges. Applying wealth laws is not an overnight transformation. It is a gradual shift in the way you think, act, and relate to money. Each law reinforces the others, creating a balanced system that builds strength year after year. When you remain committed to these principles, your wealth begins to grow in ways that feel natural rather than forced. Compounding becomes a quiet partner working beside you. Your financial life becomes defined by upward movement, resilience, and long-term expansion. Eventually, the results speak for themselves, not because of luck, but because of the simple laws you chose to follow with discipline and clarity. Number 9. Develop long-term strategies for financial freedom. A long-term strategy for financial freedom begins with a shift in how you view time, money, and the connection between the two. Instead of chasing quick gains or reacting to every change in the market, you start grounding your decisions in endurance, clarity, and direction. Financial freedom is not a lucky break or a sudden windfall. It is the gradual construction of a system that protects you, grows with you, and supports the life you want without depending on unstable circumstances. This approach forces you to think ahead, anticipate obstacles, and establish safeguards that allow your money to continue working even when life becomes unpredictable. Building a long-term wealth strategy also requires you to step away from the impulse-driven mindset that causes people to abandon plans at the first sign of discomfort. Sustainable freedom emerges from delayed gratification, consistency, and the willingness to evaluate your financial moves through decades instead of days. Each choice, big or small, should support your future stability, not just your current emotions. The more you train yourself to think in extended timelines, the easier it becomes to ignore distractions, trends, and noise that tempt you to reroute your progress. Long-term thinkers don't compete for temporary wins, they build structures that allow them to stop worrying about money entirely. One of the strongest elements in long-term wealth planning is creating a clear financial identity. This is the internal standard that guides your behavior even when no one else is watching. You define what kind of financial life you want, what habits align with that vision, and what boundaries protect your progress. This identity shapes your spending patterns, savings rate, and investment choices automatically, reducing emotional decisions and replacing them with principles that keep you on track. People who reach financial freedom don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems they designed deliberately. You also need a roadmap that outlines the stages of your journey. Early stages may require aggressive saving, debt elimination, and tightening financial leaks. The middle stages involve building multiple income streams, strengthening investment contributions, and balancing risk with sustainability. The later stages center around preservation, strategic withdrawal, and ensuring your assets outlive you. Each stage has its own responsibilities, and knowing where you are gives you clarity on what actions matter most right now. Without this roadmap, every financial decision becomes guesswork, and guesswork rarely leads to freedom. Long-term financial strategies rely on understanding your risk profile and adjusting it as your life evolves. Early in your journey, taking calculated risks may accelerate growth. As you develop stability, you may shift toward options with more predictable returns. A successful long-term plan never relies on one vehicle alone. It uses a combination of assets, index funds, bonds, real estate, business ventures, intellectual property, and emergency reserves to create a balanced structure that can withstand volatility. Protection is just as important as growth, because losing money is far more damaging than earning slowly. Long-term strategy also requires mastering the boring, steady, unglamorous behaviors that make most people quit. Automating transfers, maintaining consistent investment contributions, reviewing accounts regularly, and adjusting your strategy annually form the backbone of sustainable freedom. These habits create financial momentum that becomes almost impossible to stop once established. When your systems run quietly in the background, you free up mental space to focus on career advancement, skill building, or entrepreneurial work that expands your income even further. A major part of long-term financial success is learning to separate real opportunities from distractions. Not every investment pitch, trend, or quick money promise aligns with your future. Many people slow their progress because they keep abandoning solid strategies to chase something that looks exciting in the moment. Financial freedom demands the discipline to commit to what works, refine it as needed, and resist unnecessary detours. The world rewards those who stay patient while everyone else scatters their energy. Another important component is building resilience into your financial life. Life changes, economies shift, companies close, emergencies appear without warning. Long-term strategy accounts for uncertainty by creating buffers, emergency funds, insurance, income diversification, and debt control. These safeguards act as shock absorbers that prevent crises from wiping out years of hard-earned progress. Instead of being pushed backward, you stay stable and continue moving forward because your financial foundation is reinforced on all sides. Long-term financial freedom also requires intentional lifestyle choices. This doesn't mean living in deprivation. It means aligning your expenses with your values, goals, and priorities. You begin spending in ways that reflect your future, instead of impressing people in the present. You learn to identify which expenses elevate your life and which only inflate your ego. This mindset creates space for meaningful growth, both financially and personally, because you are directing your resources toward things that matter. The final layer of a long-term strategy is creating a vision beyond money. Financial freedom is not just about having wealth, it's about what wealth allows you to do. Time autonomy, career choices, travel, family stability, creative pursuits, or contributing to causes you believe in. These outcomes anchor your discipline. When your financial behaviors serve a purpose larger than accumulation, The journey becomes fulfilling instead of exhausting. You stop reacting to money and start using it as a tool to design the life you want. A long-term strategy removes the anxiety, the guessing, and the instability that come from short-term thinking. It transforms your financial life into something predictable, expandable, and durable. With each year, the structure you build strengthens, and the pressure on your shoulders lightens. Eventually, you reach a point where money is no longer a source of stress. It becomes a supportive force that works quietly behind the scenes. That is the essence of financial freedom. A life where your decisions are not controlled by scarcity, fear, or financial uncertainty, but by clarity, security, and choice. Number 10. Make money serve your life blueprint. Your life becomes far more intentional the moment you decide that money is not the goal, but the instrument that shapes the reality you want to live in. Instead of treating it as something to chase endlessly or fear constantly, you start directing it with purpose. You give your income, savings, and investments a mission that aligns with the identity you are building. A life blueprint brings clarity to every financial choice because you're no longer making decisions based on pressure, trends, or comparison. You're making them based on what moves you closer to the life you've deliberately designed for yourself. Money becomes a tool, not a master, and that shift changes everything. Creating a blueprint requires deep honesty about what you want your life to represent. You begin identifying what kind of environment supports your growth, what relationships you want to nurture, what daily routines energize you, and what activities bring a sense of fulfillment. Once you understand these elements, you align your financial behavior around them. Instead of spending impulsively, you allocate resources toward things that fit your vision. Instead of saving without direction, you build reserves for the experiences and milestones that genuinely matter. This level of clarity eliminates confusion because every dollar has a defined role to play. When money serves your blueprint, your earning decisions also shift. You no longer choose jobs or projects based solely on income potential. You consider whether the work complements your long-term direction. Opportunities that compromise your values or drain your energy become easier to decline. You seek income sources that support your well-being, utilize your strengths, and offer room for growth. This approach allows you to build financial stability without sacrificing the quality of your life. The money still matters, but it stops being the center of your identity. Designing a life blueprint also helps you determine the level of financial independence you want. Some people want full freedom to travel and work remotely. Others crave stability, community, and freedom from stress. Your vision dictates the amount of wealth you need, the timeline you're working with, and the steps required to reach it. This prevents you from pursuing goals that don't fit your life. Many people chase arbitrary numbers without understanding why. But when your blueprint drives your strategy, you pursue only what aligns with your personal definition of success. One powerful aspect of creating a life-centered money strategy is learning to build structure around your future. You create categories in your financial plan that reflect your blueprint: personal growth, relationships, experiences, security, health, and dreams you haven't yet accomplished. Assigning intentional meaning to these categories transforms budgeting from restriction into empowerment. You're not limiting yourself, you're directing energy toward what enriches your life. This reframing makes consistency easier because you understand the purpose behind each action. When money serves your blueprint, long-term planning becomes far more meaningful. You begin establishing systems that support your future lifestyle. You build emergency reserves to protect your peace. You automate investments because growing your wealth quietly in the background frees you to focus on living. You create multiple income streams not out of desperation, but out of a desire for choice. Each system strengthens your ability to live on your terms, regardless of life's unpredictability. Even your relationship with material possessions changes. Instead of accumulating things to fill emotional gaps, you prioritize items that enhance your daily life. You invest in tools, environments, and experiences that support the person you want to become. The blueprint becomes a filter that helps you avoid unnecessary purchases. It keeps you grounded, centered, and disciplined, because everything you do must pass through the question, does this support the life I'm building? As your blueprint becomes clearer, your financial boundaries grow stronger. You stop entertaining obligations that conflict with your values. You no longer tolerate financial chaos because you understand the cost it imposes on your future. You speak differently about money, make decisions more confidently, and feel more in control of your direction. These boundaries are not restrictive, they're protective. They safeguard your vision from anything that would derail your progress. A significant part of making money serve your blueprint involves creating rituals that reinforce your identity, reviewing your finances weekly, setting monthly goals, tracking progress, and refining your strategies are not chores. They are alignment practices. They keep you connected to your long-term intentions. Each review reveals what is working, what needs adjustment, and what habits you must strengthen. When done consistently, these rituals transform your financial life into a disciplined, focused, and purposeful system. Another important dimension of this transformation is emotional freedom. When money becomes a supportive tool, you no longer react to it with fear, guilt, or anxiety. You stop comparing yourself to others because their blueprint has nothing to do with yours. You remove external expectations from your decision-making process and replace them with self-directed clarity. This emotional stability allows you to enjoy your progress without constantly questioning whether you're doing enough. Making money serve your life blueprint also helps you create space for joy. You design a lifestyle where you're not waiting for a future moment to feel fulfilled. You incorporate small but meaningful experiences into your daily life. You allocate resources for activities that inspire creativity, deepen relationships, or restore your energy. The purpose of financial freedom is not just to escape stress, it's to enrich your existence and expand your sense of possibility. As your system matures, you reach a point where financial decisions become effortless. You no longer question whether you should save, invest, or plan ahead. It becomes automatic. You no longer debate every purchase because you've learned how to measure value through the lens of your vision. You spend confidently, invest wisely, and earn intentionally. This is the moment money truly serves you, when your life is shaped by direction rather than reaction. A blueprint-driven financial life gives you something most people never achieve: clarity. Clarity about who you want to become, clarity about what matters, and clarity about how money fits into the bigger picture. This clarity gives you peace, strength, and consistency. It keeps you grounded during uncertainty and focused during success. It becomes the compass that guides every choice, ensuring your life is not built on chance but on purpose.